Patient Randall, we are live.
Oh, I'm gonna do this really dirty thing that I do.
We're live.
Okay, we're live. All right, so we're live. So I'm going to call to order the March 9th, 2023 Governance Personnel Committee. So we have a quorum, although we're missing a couple of people. We do have a quorum in the room. So the first thing we're going to do is approve the minutes from the January 12th meeting, assuming my colleagues have read the minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Number 2, approval of January 12th, 2023 minutes.
Motion made by Supervisor Chair Wheeler. Is there a second? Seconded by Mayor Davis Younger. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll be able to say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will pass 3-0-2 with 2 members being absent as of now. We only have one action item today, and it's the Governance Personnel Committee meeting schedule.
Yeah, February 9th. We have the February.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have February 9th minutes too. I'm sorry, we should put them together. We have if you read the February 9th meeting, is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. by Chair Wheeler, second. Is there a second? Second by Mayor Davis Younger. All fair to say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will also pass 3-0-2. The calendar that is our action item is item number 4. I would actually ask, do we think we need to do this many? I mean, because do we think this is actually needed, this many meetings? Seriously, I mean, the GPC man, because so when does the General Assembly go back for the veto session? When do they go back for their?
April 12th,
Okay,
the next day you won't meet.
right. So that makes sense. That makes sense. And then we have no idea when they may go back for further budget meetings.
Crossing my fingers that they're gonna do that at the same time as the meeting session, but we don't know for sure. There's no announced date.
Okay, and I would imagine for different reasons, it probably will be June if they go back after primaries.
You probably the primaries are the 20th. That's really late this year. So early for primaries.
So then maybe.
So I hope they would get it done before the primary.
You think they're good? Yeah, but for other reasons, I think they probably won't get them. And you have to do somewhat no campaign against you.
That is true.
So I imagine that we will absolutely need the April meeting, but I'm not sure that we need the May meeting.
Madam Chair, I think my review is supposed to be in May, but you all can.
Is your review in May? Is it that early?
Yes, because you moved it back to May.
Oh, we did move it back to May. You're right.
You want to do
Okay.
June?
But we don't. The thing is, we don't need all 3 of those. We can do away with one of them. If we do, let's do May and decide right now that June will not be necessary.
Which is also our celebration. Yeah.
Because exactly,
Right.
it's because we're gonna see each other then anyway, right? And that date is what, June?
June 8th is our.
June 8th. So that's actually just gonna be, we won't be meeting, we're just gonna do a celebration.
Right. We're gonna have authority meeting and then the celebration after.
Right, but we don't need a GPC meeting that day, is what I'm saying. And then we, and some of these do say if necessary.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's not a meeting in August. Let's leave if necessary on for September and maybe add if necessary on in October. And then by November, we would know how things shook out
Yeah.
and we'll be back by November.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Yes.
All right.
So much.
All right, so we know that we're going to basically know that we're not going to have a GPC meeting on June 8th. And we're going to add if necessary on October 12th. Okay? All right, and is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Any issues with that? Okay, all right.
We have to take action on that.
We do.
Yes.
So is there a motion?
So moved to do the calendar as amended under discussion just now.
Wonderful. And I will second that. I'll have to say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will pass 3-0-2 as well. Discussion item is the is the General Assembly. So Ms. Backman and more, Ms. Baynard, tell us about this wonderful session and how it impacted us.
Well, Madam Chair, members of the committee, it was short and sweet and did not harm us in any way.
Amen.
Amen. The one program or the one policy change that was done in transit regarding the transit ridership incentive program, I think has some opportunities for us. TRIP. As you recall, that was created to provide funding for pilots related to expanding transit service. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ridership took a dive,
Yeah.
but it's coming back. And frankly, what we're seeing is that local bus service in particular has come back much faster than, not surprising, more commuter related. But because the money that's in the program, it gets a certain percentage of the Commonwealth Mass Transit Fund, is we want to make sure it gets utilized. So as you recall, there was the transit equity and modernization study, which had a lot of recommendations.
That was the federal study or the state study?
That was a state study.
State study.
That was a state study that looked at transit, equity and modernization, just really looking at what was happening at the local level, and came up with some great recommendations. Found out that there was not a lot of consistency in terms of the quality and availability of infrastructure that supports riders, bus shelters, ADA compliance, benches, that sort of thing. And really, it's been proven in a lot of the systems around the state that if you improve that, if you make it safe and comfortable,
More comfortable. Yeah.
riders will show up.
Yeah.
Right? So now this fund, so they expanded the uses to that. So that's one new use that's eligible for funding from the fund. And the other one is, because there's, again, a lot of discussion and some of you are all having, is for activities that help you transition your transit system to low or zero emission structures. So that's facilities, workforce training, that sort of thing. So up to 30% of TRIP funds can be dedicated towards assisting local systems in those two activities.
Isn't that, so, but that's all operation and then that's capital.
Well, actually, on the zero, it's actually capital. So you see things like chargers. You have workforce is seen as capital.
Workforce is seen as capital.
Workforce, in this instance, and I've seen it before for other programs, workforce is seen as a capital investment.
Interesting.
And because of the new tech, because of the different technology, your maintenance workers will have to be retrained to be able to handle either hydrogen or electric or whatever it might be. If you need to make amendments and changes to your bus storage facilities or your maintenance facilities, because it's capital, frankly, it could probably qualify for some of the buses too.
I've never heard, that's fine. I think it's fine. It's just interesting.
Yeah. And then again, on the support ridership, that's again, shelters, benches, ADA compliance, lighting around, all of that. So depending on which fiscal impact statement you look at, for 2024, that's probably roughly between $7.7 and $8 million, $8.5 million to get started, but it'll be a competitive grant program. So the next steps are for DRPT staff to draft some guidelines and performance measures. Those would then get adopted by the Commonwealth Transportation Board, and then that would set up the parameters for seeking that through a competitive grant. Okay. So the other activity was administration bill, and that two things. One, Virginia Railroad Express has long wanted to get itself out from under the bus formula because it's the criteria using for bus for performance measures doesn't really fit what they do. And so administration agreed, so they negotiated from now on, once this is signed, starting July 1, VRE will get a 3.5% from the Commonwealth Mass Transit Fund, similar to how the WMATA gets a set percentage for operating in capital. There are going to be performance criteria that they'll have to meet. Those will be developed and approved by the CTB. They have some accountability and reporting requirements, very similar to Ramada, about reporting their budget, reporting their performance metrics, ridership, ROI, benefits, that sort of thing. They codified the 2018 accountability measures for Ramada, added some additional clarification on what it has to be in Ramada's strategic plan. But
So that wasn't about Ramada safety.
no,
That was about
this
Ramada, the
for
budget.
performance, yeah, performance. They added a criteria that the Ramada general manager and the 2 Virginia members of the board must at least once a year come and present to the Commonwealth Transportation Board.
And that makes sense. That would be Paul Smithburg and Matt Letourneau.
Yes.
So I guess the Ramada is a tri-state system. So they basically want to see like, what are we doing in Virginia?
Yeah, because that's all they can.
That's all they
actually
can
require.
do. Is there any discussion about funding Ramada differently?
Not this year.
Okay, all right.
And hopefully the additional reporting, clarification of what's in the strategic plan and what they report on, the new code section specifically like, how you're using the funding from Virginia. And there's a lot, there's several new members. There just is an education process still.
It's also, all of it is so, not arbitrary, that's not the right word. It's unrealistic to really think that no Ramada money from Virginia is ever going to cross the river. Yes, right. I mean,
Well, we have a restriction.
I know we do. I know we do. But which was one of the reasons we were fighting so hard in 18 not to have what happened happen for that very reason. But yeah, I mean, so they want Mr. Smithburg and Mr. Letourneau to come tell them what?
And the general manager to
And the
come and
general
report
manager.
on performance, how money is being used, what you're doing related to safety, ridership, state of good repair.
That, yeah, I think it's a good idea actually, but once you start getting into things like that, then first of all, you are getting into safety. State of good repair is safety. So then all of it and everything. Yeah. As it relates to Virginia only.
Now, the system, well, I don't think we can just talk about Virginia, what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it would be about the system writ large. And then I would speak to how that also specifically helps our service in Virginia.
Okay.
That's just me.
Okay.
The only other sort of the only other big transportation policy funding matter that got resolved, because there's things in the budget that are not resolved yet. The Transportation Partnership Opportunity Fund, TPOP. The governor wants and has gotten a recapitalization and new policy on a fund that was created to provide flexible money to support either a specific economic development initiative or now being expanded to help prepare a site for economic development. The General Assembly accepted the need for something that has to be more flexible than Smart Scale because of the timing on Smart Scale, but wanted a lot more reporting back and accountability. And so they added several new reporting requirements, including that for anything over $35 million, the governor has to report on ROI, how many jobs are created or retained, what the project is, where is the project, what other investments is the I'm making, what investment is the economic development candidate making. So a lot of, and he's reporting back to members of the General Assembly, particularly the money committees, finance and appropriations. For anything over 35 million, you are going to be required to also report and get approval from the Major Economic Investment Commission, MEI, but it's quicker. So that's a legislative commission that was created several years ago to oversee and opine on and approve large economic incentive packages. I forget what the amount is. So The TPOF, flexibility, you did get that. General Assembly, like, you had a lot more reporting back to us, you know, exactly what you're doing with it.
That fund's just been kind of like a,
It's been a while, and it hasn't been used in a very long time.
yeah,
Um,
I didn't even know about it, to be honest.
Yeah, so it's there, and frankly, you also, as localities, can apply for it directly to help with either a loan or a grant,
Okay.
as if it meets the criteria. So with these changes, CTV will be looking at the current guidelines and criteria, updating them to reflect that, and that will be the basis of the program moving
Yeah,
forward.
I actually don't think it's about
We still have to resolve how much money they're getting to capitalize it. The governor and the House, that we're looking at 300 million, with 200 million coming from the Commonwealth Transportation Fund of revenues excess from the December 2022 forecast.
because if we capitalize it, because what was the money spent on this year?
It hasn't been spent in a very long time, so I mean, there hasn't been that much money that's gone into it, so it doesn't really have a lot.
Okay.
And then $100 million from the unallocated money from the Virginia.
Because we're
Transportation.
capitalizing it for a reason.
Well, I think there are some projects,
Looking at
one in Northern Virginia that I think would be eligible for it.
I thought it was that there really wasn't much in it. He wanted to put $300 million in.
He wanted to put $300 million in it, but he wanted to be able,
Yeah. Okay.
but he wanted to be able to also had to have the policy changes that go with it.
Got it.
Yeah. So he wanted 300, Senate saying 200 right
I take you back to Metro for just a
now.
second.
Sure.
The, I know Mr. Letourneau is appointed to Metro from MBTC.
Correct.
Mr. Smithburg,
Is the governor's appointed. Yeah, governor's.
that's what I thought. That's what, so
The governor gets one and then.
he has a,
TC.
he has a term there.
Yeah, I don't remember where he is. He may have just been reappointed.
Yes.
He was reappointed by Governor Youngkin. Northam?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Before, I think it was after the election, but before the inauguration.
I like that. So he has 4 years still. Well, it's a 4-year term.
Okay.
So. That is.
That's all you got, huh?
That's all I got.
That's all you got.
Short but sweet.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't lose anything, so yay. And Ms. Beckman, you want to add anything?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Baynard?